Hello, everyone. It's Hashil Hatmi here speaking, and I want to thank you all for your tremendous support and continuous support with regards to my weekly blogs. Every week, I've literally, alhamdulillah, I've managed to complete 12 weeks, which is 3 months of writing weekly blogs on the diary of a trainee psychological wellbeing practitioner, trainee PWP. So I mentioned earlier in a post that as I've been consistent with the weekly blogs, I want to start shooting videos and posting them both on LinkedIn and hopefully on YouTube as well, so that others, everyone can just, follow, learn, and hopefully be inspired. I just want to share my experience. Most of my videos, I'm doing this vertical, but I have a question for you guys, and let me know in your comments. Do you prefer this to be vertical, or do you prefer it to be horizontal like this? Do you prefer it to be horizontal like this, or would you prefer it to be vertical? So do let me know. Let me just adjust this for a moment. There we go. All right, so this is the introduction, the introductory video of the diary of a psychological wellbeing practitioner, where I introduce myself, who I am, a bit about me, a bit about my background, me studying psychology, where did I start, how did I start, what allowed me to continue, a bit about my experience, and most importantly, what got me to apply for this role, because it's not my first. I didn't apply once, twice. I applied a little bit more than that, which I'll get to in a moment. And I just wanted to also mention a few points, like the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and the role that I'm doing, and the type of work that I'm doing, the service that I work for, the whole idea behind talking therapies, and what the whole PWP role sort of entails a little bit, so that hopefully you guys can get inspired, whether you're a person who's a psychology student, psychology graduate, and you are inspired and you are enthusiastic about applying for the program, or you're someone who maybe doesn't have a psychology background. That's okay. You can still learn. I'm sharing this journey. You guys can learn with me, and learn more about what PWPs do, that there are more than just one particular role in the field of psychology. So a little bit about myself. My name is Hashil Hatmi, and I graduated with an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's degree in psychology in 2014. So one of the first questions that people usually tend to ask me is, where are you from? Where did you get your accent from? We see someone light skin, and then you've got this British accent, and then your hair, you look like you've got a bit of, like, I don't know, Afro-Caribbean in you. So where exactly are you from? I get this question a lot. Most people tend to think that I'm North African, Moroccan, or Algerian. And a lot of Moroccan Algerians, when they first see me, they usually start speaking to me in, their Arabic dialect, or Darja, which is like Arabic, French mixed with a bit of Berber. They start speaking to me in that, and I know a few words, but I don't know the language fully. So I'm originally from Oman. I'm mixed. I'm originally from Oman, and I'm also, I've got some Iraqi in me. My grandmother's Iraq, and we've got some East African in me. So my mother was born in East Africa. Oman has a rich history in East Africa. My grandfather was actually born and brought up in East Africa, my dad's side of the family. So my dad's father, my grandfather, was born and brought up in East Africa. He moved to the UK in the 50s. This is where my father was born, in the UK, and he was born and brought up here. Moved to Oman in the 80s. So yeah, pretty much my dad's side of the family, very, like, this is where we get our British accent from. And we've also been living here, studying here as well, me and my siblings. And I've had people ask me if I'm Caribbean or not. Some of the people in my class actually asked me, are you Caribbean? Are you Caribbean? And I said, no. I'm not Caribbean. But yeah, Omani with some East African mix, Iraqi, and that's pretty much it. And I lived most of my life in Oman. I've lived in Holland for 3 years when I was younger. Went back to Oman once I was done with high school. And just before finishing high school, I was actually interested in studying accounting and finance and business. But I remember in 2008 when I went to, after exams from Oman, me and my brothers, we came over here to visit my mum and my older siblings, my older brother, my two older sisters. They were studying here at the time. I remember we went to my sister. She was studying at Anglia Ruskin in Cambridge. And I remember I went to the library. I was Googling psychoanalysis, behaviorism, psychology, and that really intrigued me. Also, before when I was a little younger, I remember I used to help some friends out with problem solving issues. So they were struggling in something. I felt like I was this little doctor. They had this problem. I'd solve it, etc. But I really became intrigued with psychology. I became very interested. So I took it. So I chose it as a degree to study. Fortunately, I had my parents, huge support, friends, teachers, and a few others. They felt like, look at this guy, he's gonna study. Like, what you want to do? You want to treat crazy people. You want to treat the majaneen, as they call in Arabic. The word majaneen means the crazy people, those who are insane. The word majaneen comes from the word junun, or majnoon comes from the word junun. Majnoon means this person is insane. Junun comes from insanity. So that's what I was told, and I said, listen, a day's gonna come, a day's gonna come where psychology, this profession, is going to be in high demand. And lo and behold, it did. I remember when I graduated in 2014, even in 2013, I remember coming back to Oman visiting in the summertime, and I was told that literally there are more jobs. Slowly, there are jobs starting. They're starting to advertise jobs in different sectors. In the education sector, there is in the healthcare sector. It's still slowly growing. I mean, the GCC, it's been growing in the last 10 years, fortunately. Even more so after the pandemic of COVID-19, because people are starting to accept that psychology is part of us. Like we or mental health people go through problems, and there's nothing wrong with seeking support and help for these problems. So the stigma, the taboo is still there, but it's slowly and gradually reducing. People are starting to accept it, and taboo is all over the world. So when I graduated, I remember I started working at one of Oman's top hospitals. It's a university hospital. It was amazing. I was working, alongside Oman's first ever clinical psychologist. He was also a neuropsychologist. He was kind of a specialist in both neuropsychology and clinical psychology. He was a professor of behavior medicine, and I was fortunate to work with him and the whole team at the time. Some of them are retired, some of them are still there, and I've been fortunate to work with many of them. I've learned so much. After those 2 years, I remember I went to Qatar, or Qatar for most people, worked in Doha in the educational sector, worked at an academy. It's a huge school. It was a British curriculum based, and it was amazing, working as a social worker / behavior specialist for key, students in Key Stage 2. For those of you who don't know what Key Stage 2 is, in the British curriculum, it's from years or grades, as they call other parts in the world, years 4 to 5, years 4, 5, and 6. Sorry, years 4 to 6, 4, 5, and 6, upper primary, as they call it. It was quite hectic, I'm not gonna lie, but I learned a lot. And at the end of the year, I realized, okay, educational sector, this setting is not really for me. I wanted to come back to UK so I can continue my postgraduate studies. Didn't work out. There's a bit of a sort of circumstance, something I went through, and alhamdulillah, thank God that I was back in Oman, got the opportunity to work at Oman's largest hospital. I remember speaking to the director of the hospital, and he said, listen, we are about to launch this project. We already have a psychiatrist here. She's just completed her fellowship in liaison psychiatry, which is a subspecialty of psychiatry that deals with chronic medical conditions or long-term conditions. So it deals with the mental health of people who have chronic mental health conditions. People are going through rehabilitation, people are going through surgery, pre-surgery and post-surgery effects, and so on and so forth. So I was fortunate, and this is now written in history, that I was the first appointed psychologist or psychotherapist in Oman's largest hospital. And I learned so much. 4 years of working there has taught me so much. It was amazing. It wasn't easy because I was a one man. I was working alongside with another psychiatrist, and then slowly the team built. So now, as I left, the team is now 4 or 5 people now. The team is slowly growing. They have more psychiatrists now, but they're growing on the psychology team side. So that psychology, I had to establish the psychological services. They never had therapy before. They had to refer to other hospitals. And now that it was available there, so I was doing a lot of inpatient work. I was doing a lot of, I had my own clinic. I was literally running and managing 2 clinics. One in the actual hospital, and then another one at the National Diabetes and Endocrine Center. This is where my love for health behavior change came about, and learning about motivational interviewing, and learning how to the whole clinical health coaching, if you want to call it. I was doing a lot of health coaching with a lot of patients who had diabetes, obesity, thyroid, and how can they develop healthier lifestyles from a psychological point of view. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I learned so much. And this is why even some of my tutors, they've noticed that, I was speaking to one of them, and he's currently doing his training in how to deliver, talking therapies for people who have long-term conditions. And I told him, look, I worked 4 years extensively with these people. Like, it was interesting, and I feel like these, people with long-term conditions, they really miss. I feel like they've been left out. Like, they really, really need mental health. They really need mental health support. Anyway, so that's basically my experience. I mean, apart from that, actually, alongside that, that was like my 9 to 5, if you want to call it. But over the years, I've done a lot of coaching. I've done a lot of personal development. I remember developing a program. We worked on this program for 2 years. Some youth development, youth coaching for people in high school. I was trying to develop something for higher education in colleges and universities in Oman, in Muscat. I'm from the capital, and I was doing a lot of career coaching for some times. My first business that I started, which was back in 2019, almost 4 years ago, was in resume writing. I was writing CVs, resumes. Then I started writing cover letters and personal statements for people who are applying for universities, who are applying for jobs. I started coaching people on how they can make their LinkedIn profiles look, really attractive. I was also coaching people for interviews, which is something I still do now and then. It's been an amazing journey, like, not just in terms of my professional experience, but other experiences. I've learned so much. Why did I apply for this role? Firstly, I want people to understand something. Psychology is not solely and exclusively in clinics and hospitals. It's not just in healthcare. Psychology is way beyond that. It can be applied in multiple settings, what we call applied psychology. Applied psychology applied in multiple settings. It can be applied in the healthcare setting. Yes, hospitals, clinics, some community centers. It is also applied in the forensic setting. So forensic psychology, it's highly implied. Like now there's a huge demand in the industrial world, the corporate world, the business world. It has different names: industrial psychology, occupational psychology, organizational psychology, work psychology, business psychology. It has all these different names in the business world, and it's on a high demand right now with employee well-being, changing and restructuring the way the work, the work culture, the safety culture, psychological safety culture, so many different things. So they work a lot with like people who are in the HSC, health and safety. They work with people, especially a lot with the HR departments, and so on and so forth. You've got the sports and exercise and fitness industry. So there's sports and exercise psychology. You've got educational psychology. You have so many different other psychologies. You've got psychology in sales and marketing. You've got psychology even in when it comes to developing products and designing products, user experience design, or what they call nowadays, user experience design, developing applications and websites, and a lot of like UX designs. Now there's a lot of psychology there, and a lot of psychology sort of like students and graduates are now going towards that as a career path. You have the emerging field of cyber psychology, which is becoming huge in terms of its research, its applications. How do we human beings interact with technology, and how does technology affect and how does it have an impact on our lives? Huge area, multiple different things, and you can go and read it. So let's get back to the role. The role of a PWP, psychological well-being practitioner. It's all about CBT. So the program is called Low Intensity Cognitive Behavioral Interventions, LICBT. What is CBT? CBT is about dealing with the here and now. We're not necessarily dealing with issues of the past. We're trying to focus on the current problems, dealing with the current, the here and now. And how do our thoughts affect our emotions and affect our behaviors, which leads to a particular outcome. So we have a situation that we're struggling to deal with. And when that situation, that event occurs, what happens is we have our thoughts. We develop thoughts. We develop our feelings emotionally. We develop feelings physically. We also develop certain behaviors. Behaviors where we avoid something, or we stop doing something, or this is the reaction, the response we have to this particular situation, and therefore it leads to a particular outcome. How do we deal with that? One of the main founders of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, was Aaron Beck, who was a psychiatrist, and he was focusing and emphasizing on cognitive therapy. His whole idea, because prior to him, it was most psychologists or behaviorists were focusing on behavior, was what made people would change or deal with people's habits. What he was trying to emphasize on is that people are struggling with their thoughts, with their thinking styles. People have developed a very negative way of thinking. How do we now deal with that? And then obviously it's a combination of cognitive interventions and techniques and behavioral intervention and techniques coming together to help people work on their thinking styles and elicit, behavior change or behavioral activation. Behavior change, how do we change our behavior? Part of behavior change is also about changing the way our attitudes towards something. Our attitudes towards, for example, we want to make a change. We want to change a particular habit. What's our attitude towards that habit? What's our attitude towards changing that habit? Do we need to change or not? But anyway, I don't want to get into too much detail, but I'm just letting you know that CBT works on the here and now. And it is one of the it's not the only therapy, but it is one of the most known and most famous therapies that for many, many years has proven to be one of the best and very, very and highly effective. The PWP works with people who have common mental health problems on a mild to moderate severity or a mild to moderate range. Okay, mild to moderate severity is basically cases of anxiety, depression, stress, sleep problems, phobia, panic attacks, and others around this category of mild to moderate, at a mild to moderate level. Yeah, mild to moderate severity. When it becomes moderate to severe, this now goes to another higher stage or a step, what we call step 3, which I'll get to soon, about the Stepcare model. These are more high intensity cognitive behavioral therapists or high intensity therapists, as well as counselors. So our training is all about those who are in the, this level of mild to moderate. And we learn so much. We learn about, currently we're learning about, when it comes to the interventions, we're learning so much about how to develop our confidence and skills on clinical decision making. How do we choose? How do we come to a shared decision with clients? How do we know what is the best option for clients? How do we consult with people? How do we make sure that they're getting to the right people? Do we have to signpost sometimes? I'll get into that hopefully in the future of the videos, because I've got a lot of videos. I've been consistent when it comes to the writing, 12 weeks. Now I've got to do 12 weeks of videos, 12 videos so I can catch up. So I hope and I thank everyone for their support in doing so. But yeah, it's amazing. You get to learn so much. And right now we're at the level where we've completed a few assessments. We've got an exam in about 2 weeks from now, and literally now we're ready to actually start treatment. We're already working on a number of things, because with the PWP, how it works is that we start with triage, where we are phoning people and we have a half an hour session of getting understanding what is their main problem. We are reviewing their safety, doing a risk assessment. So we're finding out how this problem is impacting them in their day-to-day lives, and then finding out whether our service is the right service for them or not. Because the service in total is known as, they call it IAPT, the Improved Access for Psychological Therapies. But now the name is starting to change to just talking therapies. And I honestly believe that even talking therapies is still vague. People need to know, in terms of talking therapies, what's available in talking therapies, because there's so many different therapies. It's not just cognitive behavioral therapy, there's so many other therapies. So in talking therapies, it's like the mother name, in that we find different people with different roles doing different things. They're all working together in terms of the mental health support and supporting people with common mental health problems at different levels and at different stages and at different steps. But it's important to know each one's role. Our role in terms of, as a PWP, as I said, we're dealing with people with these problems, but from mild to moderate. After after we've triaged this person, we can see that we can take this case on, or we can actually see that, they're fit for our step 2, which I'll get to in the Stepcare model. Then we go on to an assessment, and after we assess them, which is a bit longer than the triage, and then from there we understand and we look at their motivation. Are they capable? Do they have the time to commit to these type of sessions? And are they motivated to start? Are they motivated to change? What are their goals? We set goals for them. We work together and we understand what are the goals that they want to set using the SMART model. And then after that, we start our treatment. And What I also want to mention here is we work on a step care model sort of framework. What is the step care model? The step care model is who at each step, who do you go to? Step one is your GP, your main doctor. All right, that's step one. That's the first person of contact. When it comes to step two, we're talking about mental health. Okay, we're talking about mental health treatment and mental health support. Step two, this is where the PWP comes, mild to moderate. Those cases. If it's moderate to severe, it goes now to step three. So who's at step three? High intensity. Again, because we're low intensity, then there's high intensity. The step three, the high intensity, and you've got the counselors. So counseling, and they need high intensity as well as counseling. That's at the step three. Then there's step four, there's step five. Depending on the severity of these cases, how severe it is, it goes up on that levels. And severity is not, and by the way, it's not just in terms of how severe they're just the cases. It's that coupled with the risk. So risk has, you've got low risk. Some say no, but there's low risk, there's medium risk, and then there's high risk, and it goes up. So also depending on what level of risk are they in. So these things are very important. And it's just an amazing role, to be honest. There's so much you can learn. It's a lot of it. There's a lot of psychoeducation. You're literally teaching them. It's like giving them the tools and the techniques, it's like giving them, this is the toolkit. It's helping them understand how they can deal with the problem, and you are their guide. You are their guide on how they can develop and build this set of tools, this toolkit of how they can manage their problems. It could be about excessive worrying, a lot of anxiety. It could be to deal with panic. And then it could be to deal with phobias. How do you get them into, overcoming phobia, overcoming panic attacks? How do you work on their depression and their low mood? How do you work with them to get back on track? Because, for example, low mood and depression, it's all about feeling like I'm inactive. How do you activate that behavior, what we call behavioral activation? So I'll get into that in the coming videos, but it's amazing. It's an amazing journey. And what's interesting is that all of our sort of like senior colleagues, they know what it's like to be in our shoes. And everyone in the program, regardless of the experience we all have more different experiences, a variety of experiences, but we're all there. We're on the same level, that we're learning to become learning to become PWPs, qualified PWPs. And we're all learning from each other. It's amazing. You can learn from someone who, I've got someone in my team who's got a lot of experience when it comes to dealing with people with alcohol issues and substances. So, I can benefit from that. I may have the counseling side. Someone else might have the counseling side. Someone else has maybe dealing with people with I don't know, different things. But we all benefit from each other. I remember one of them was asking about what questions should I ask for someone who has diabetes. And fortunately, I'm saying fortunately, I dealt with diabetes before. I've treated people with diabetes. I provided, psychological, support for them in counseling, and I was able to help. For instance, I'll say, okay, because I've worked with them before, you can focus on these couple of questions, and she benefited. So I can benefit from others. We're all benefiting from each other. That's we have all these. So we have these service groups, sort of WhatsApps, and we have the WhatsApps with our other sort of like colleagues and classmates from different services. We're all in the same cohort, but we're all benefiting from each other. It's absolutely amazing. And it's amazing that when you network with people, you benefit so much. So anyway, I don't want to take too long, but that's a bit about myself. And I don't know, I have this motivating personality. I love to motivate people. I have a funny sense of humor. I'm always welcome to meet people. I'm always welcome to, share my knowledge and share my experiences with people. And I just hope that whoever you are, whether you're a psychology student or a graduate and you're interested, don't hesitate to contact me. If you are someone who doesn't have a psychology background, but you're enjoying reading the blogs, you're learning, you're benefiting, then alhamdulillah, that's really good. Thank God that you're benefiting, and I hope I can be someone who can inspire others. That's basically, I have a message, just want to share it. And also let me know, vertical or horizontal, which would you like? Because I'm going to be posting this on both LinkedIn and on YouTube, sharing my journey. And as I'm writing it, I also want to shoot a video so that others can benefit. And No one's really done this before. There's only one particular person who wrote maybe 2 articles about 2 years ago in her training, and that was it. I was excited to see what she had written, but no one has done this before. So I thought, you know what, let me take this upon myself. And I remember one of my colleagues was like, "Are you willing to go all the way to the end of the year?" I said, "Yes, and hopefully 52, God willing, 52 weeks if that's the case." I've already done 3 months, and now I've got 9 more months, and hopefully, let's see how it goes. Thank you very much.